Hello, I am your host, Kathy Chester, and welcome to the Move It or Lose It podcast, a podcast about all things that move the mind, body, and soul. The Move It or Lose It podcast is for information, awareness, and inspirational purposes only. I am not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV, so please consult your doctor before making any medical decisions. The views expressed by advertisers, guests, or contributors are their opinions and not necessarily the views of the Move It or Lose It podcast. Hey guys, so another edition to Move It or Lose It. So today you may remember from the beginning of Move It or Lose It, I had Mr. Sam Greenberg with me from MS4MS. So really excited to have him back again to talk about all the changes and all the new things that MS4MS is doing. So thank you, Sam, for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Excited to be here once again.
You are such an inspiration to so many of us, and all the work that you put in. I know from doing the podcast before when you started and all the work that went into it to the beginning, and what an inspiration you've been to me. And as we talked about before, starting my own and thinking like, oh my gosh, how long, how many marketing people will I go through? And, you know, the things that you said that inspired me was just all the work you put in and you don't even have MS, and you're hard going into this and just pushing through just really inspired me. So how do you feel now after putting in all this work and looking at how much you spread?
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and I think what you hit on was really important in that the goal of what we do is to help people and inspire people and support them. If that means we support one person, it's amazing. If we support thousands, even better. But to hear that the impact it's had on you is just a reminder that what we're doing is the right thing, and we're not going to stop because there's a need, there's a cause that needs support, there's research that needs funding. There's
Right.
people financially impacted that are in difficult positions, with no fault of their own.
Right.
So, fortunate to be in a position where we can help them. And day in and day out, as we talked about, it's really hard to grow an organization. It's hard to grow a podcast. It's hard to grow any.
Right.
But the key is doing a little bit at a time and letting that have a snowball
Yeah.
of an effect. And that's what's happening with your podcast. So I'm super
Yeah.
excited to see what's
Thank
happening
you.
inside of things and continue a relationship here moving forward.
For
So
sure.
just the beginning for both of us.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting, moving into, the movement portion of this, for me and the program that is, and thinking that that would be it, but loving to do, the podcast and getting to know people like you and different doctors that are really doing neat things. And as you do, which I love, like really highlighting different patients and different MS warriors that are just doing some amazing things, and those who are really struggling that really don't have anyone that need help. So that's a big part of, I know both of us, it's really big on our hearts.
Mhm.
Um, so like I said, it's been how I really am curious about the sponsorship. So that was kind of going, we talked about that before. How
Yeah.
has that changed things and how is that going for you?
Yeah, we're really grateful to have made some pretty significant corporate sponsorship partnerships and allowed for that to develop and grow our organization. The reality of a lot of corporate organizations is they allocate a percentage of funds to nonprofits to support causes, and the key is to make those relationships and not
Yeah,
necessarily just get one-off donations, but create a
right.
relationship and create a long-term partnership. So we've been very grateful for partners like Morgan Stanley. We have the Falston Group, which is a local PR branch here in Maryland that's been an incredible supporter of our organization. Kohl's, we have a significant partnership with Kohl's at this point, where across the country, we actually work with their volunteer hours and individual stores to raise awareness, raise funds, and get
Wow.
the community spread an orange, which
That's
is,
awesome. I didn't know that you had with Kohl's. So
yes.
how did that happen?
Yeah, so it was, a
I'm not taking notes to get in with
oh,
Kohl's, but I
no,
just want to
please,
know.
it's important for everybody to know what's available,
Yeah,
and it really, as we talked about, there's power in communication, there's power in
absolutely.
relationships. Somebody who was a supporter of MS4MS who found out about us was a Kohl's employee who knew
Wow.
about their internal volunteer system and then got us connected with the head of their partnerships. So
Wow.
there's a power in exposure, there's
Yeah.
a power in visibility, and there's a power in being proactive when those opportunities come too, because it's easy to say something and then it's a lot harder to take it and run with it. But
Right.
really
Absolutely.
important to kind of follow up, and we had a lot of meetings. It wasn't always easy, but we rolled
Yeah.
out in a really exciting initiative that we're going to do again next year, which is called Spreading Orange State by State, and
Oh,
get
wow.
people involved all across the country and not just Kohl's employees. So
Okay.
it's a lot of fun stuff on the
I
horizon.
love that. You guys always, so when you guys are planning or deciding, like, I mean, and we'll go on this later because I want to know
Yeah,
kind of where your 2 year stuff is.
yeah.
So let's say, someone has, how many right now, I'm going back again. See, I do have MS, so I may be all over. Um, so when you're going to plan an event, do you do a lot of brainstorming, like once a month, once a week, that you guys kind of meet as a team and think about, like, this would be a great idea. Let's, like, put this on the back burner for next
Mhm.
year, or let's, like, bring this in and let's do this in, the next couple months. Is that kind of how you do, like, team building or team kind of brainstorming?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's because we don't have any full-time employees for MS4MS. Everyone is either part-time, which is only a couple people. 95% of our support is all volunteers. So it really comes down to organic idea sharing, boots on the ground, who is where,
Right.
who wants to do what they want to do. And then we have the tools and resources to provide support to make that happen. So, for instance, we've done events in this past year in Pittsburgh and Boston.
Uh,
And it's because we have ambassadors in those locations who want
right.
to get really involved but don't know where to start. And then the organization comes in and helps facilitate the event and works together to maximize it. So it really starts with the initiative of our
Right.
ambassadors, the ideas, and then we do have monthly brainstorming sessions. We have an internal team of 20 people. We have an advisory board of 10 people, and we
Wow.
meet once a month, the advisory board once a quarter, to go over how to best leverage our time, how to best leverage the organization and make a greater impact, which is most
Right.
important.
That's awesome. I love that you do that for several reasons. One, because I love accountability. So I
Mhm.
love doing things with, like, I do a lot of work with Can Do MS.
Yep.
And and I like doing that. I love collaborating with different venues because I think it adds that element of, like I said, accountability, and again, more growth. You're able to spread more awareness, which I think is really, really neat. So I love that you're doing that. I love that you've got the brainstorming teams
Mm.
and stuff like that. And one of the questions I had too for you is, what has been the biggest area of growth that you've seen in MS4MS in the last, well, I think our interview was a year and a half ago, 2 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so it's really exciting to see and with growth comes impact and support. And that's what when we talk about growth, it's not like, oh, I'm so happy that MS4MS is out there. It's because
right.
of what we're doing, we are helping more people. And that's
Yeah.
that's the growth part, and that's exciting to see. So if we're talking individuals, the team 3 years ago probably had about 6 people on it, and now it has 30. The
Wow.
amount of dollars that we raised 3 years ago was probably about 20,000, and now it's 750,000.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's exponential, which is super
Yeah.
exciting. And like I said, it really is just the beginning, because of what we're able to do and the impact we're able to make. And we have beneficiaries that I know we'll talk about in
Yeah.
a little bit, but it's just really fun to see it grow in the way that it is, and just the positivity that it spreads.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just like scrolling through, seeing the families. I mean, I get
Mhm.
choked up, the stories, and it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
just being able to meet the needs that you guys meet is just phenomenal how this has grown. I just love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, it
it's
really is
it's a
neat.
combination of fun and impact at the same time.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
there's a lot that we share that's fun at golf outings and baseball, and those are fun pictures to share. And then when we share information about the people we're directly impacting,
Right.
that's what really matters, and it's a nice
Yeah.
combination of those things.
Yeah, for sure. Because and it's so important because when you share that, it makes it so real, because we still have so many people who don't understand
Yeah.
how difficult it is to go around with multiple sclerosis. And, even me 20 something years in, I can still go to so many things and people would never know I have it.
Yep.
And, who wants to look like that? Right. So it's a compliment in some ways. And in
Mhm.
other ways, it's like, please understand, I can't do this event or I can't do this because I am sick.
Yeah.
But it's so important because there's not enough information that people have that understand what this actually is.
Yep.
And I know with my stuff, so many newly diagnosed younger people coming out and just not understanding what to expect from it and not really having a lot of support. So I love that's it always has been one of my favorite things that you guys do for sure. So again, another question I have, MS4MS, like we talked about, allocated a percentage of all proceeds to be donated directly to individuals impacted by MS. Tell us about those efforts, like we talked about, in particular things to look for. If you're looking for someone that needs help, how do you get in touch? How do they get in touch with you? So if there's different families and they may need a car, they have no transportation, like give me some particular stories that you have of like families and stuff that really needed stuff that were not going to be able to go much further if they didn't get some help.
Yeah, it's one of the most important things that we do. Is obviously the research is important, but it's the people who have it right now who financially are in a tough spot. So what we do is we have a program in place where people can reach out directly to us. There's a formal application. It's reviewed by our advisory board in terms of the funding that's distributed. But what's unique about MS is it could be very different for one person as to what they need financially compared to what somebody else may need.
Right.
So, for example, this year alone, we're going to have allocated and given over $25,000 directly to
Wow.
individuals who needed financial support. For one person, that meant providing support for his monthly mortgage while he was waiting for disability,
Yeah.
because he couldn't work, but he had to wait for the disability approval, and he really didn't know where to turn. And he was in a really tough spot financially and just, emotionally. And we were able to help cover his mortgage and his rent for over the several
Yeah.
months until he got approved and was able to get back on his feet. For another individual, he had a quick decline in what was happening with his MS, unfortunately. And he was also going through a really difficult divorce and just a lot going on. Everyone has something, but for him
Right.
individually, he was really struggling. And it was actually a friend of his who reached out to us to see, is there anything that we may be able to do? And after discussion and figuring out what he needed mobility, and he needed a
Mm.
brand new electric wheelchair. What
Yeah.
he had was not giving him the ability to get out of the house and do what he needed to do to get back on his feet.
Right.
We provided the funds and bought the chair for him, and it made an immediate impact. For
Right.
for another girl who's been battling pediatric MS for years. She's now, in her teenage age and has been battling MS for years. And her mom had reached out to us in the past, but what we did is actually we saw that they had created a GoFundMe page because she
Okay.
was really struggling with depression and anxiety
Mhm.
and was really, really in a difficult spot and was trying to get a support animal because
Yeah.
emotionally that is what she needed. And
Yeah.
they didn't reach out to us, but in this situation, we reached out to them and decided to cover all the expenses so they didn't have to also worry about the stress of a GoFundMe page.
Right.
We provided that so she was able to get the dog, and it's been
Oh,
a
I
game.
love that. Oh, for sure. I mean, I
So,
have a therapy dog, a golden retriever. She's nuts. I
yeah.
think we did something wrong in the training, but it does provide like laughter and silliness, but it
Yeah.
is so crucial, especially I think for like when I do life coaching, when I'm talking to our teens and stuff, the depression, the anxiety is so high. And it is like just having the dog there brings so much. That's so awesome that you guys have been able to do that. I mean, Sam, I think back to there was nothing like that. I think back to being a single mom and being divorced and it being so hard, and there was nothing out there. And I was working my tail off and trying to like take my to just tape up my tourniquet so no one would see it because I'd have to go back the next day and
Yeah.
just trying to make sure that all my IV stuff was all taped up, and I was working crazy hours. I remember getting 3 hours of sleep, and I'm sure it was wonderful for my multiple sclerosis,
Yeah.
but those things weren't there. So it was working 3 different jobs and trying to like keep a roof over my kid's head. And so it was excruciating. And I remember just thinking, if I could just get through one more hour, and none of that was available. So, I mean, what you do is, I think that's why I've always been so, just watching what you guys do, because it is so important. And it's just really cool. So I'll get choked up. So we'll go on. I'll start crying because
No,
it
I
does
appreciate
mean so
it.
much.
No, I
So
appreciate
I
you
love
sharing
it.
that. And that's why we do what we do. And for anybody, like I said, if you can go to our website, ms4ms.org, we have a contact us page. And you can reach out to us directly for any of these one-off situations. We don't
Mhm.
have a link to the application on our website
Right.
because we like to first have a conversation, because not for everybody, what's really unique about our setup is we have a team of ambassadors who want to help also. So some people might need financial support, but some people also might just need guidance, and
Right.
emotional support. And that's why we don't want it to be just fill out an application, we'll let you know. We want to
Right.
really see what we can do to help you, before deciding what the best route is. And that
Right.
might mean connecting you with our ambassador who's gone through the disability program. The
Right.
gentleman I talked about earlier didn't know what to do anymore because the process was taking so long. And one of the people on our team kind of helped him understand and navigate the process and helped him through it. So
Yeah.
that's
And
why
that's
it's important.
awesome, Sam. Because
Yeah.
oftentimes I'll try to do my best to set someone up with somebody to advise and help. And
Hmm.
they'll end up letting me know that that person wanted this much money and
Yeah.
they had no money. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm so sorry. And I think it's someone that will help them and it's
Hmm.
not. And I'm like, so I mean, that's so incredible that you do that, because that so often happens that
Yeah.
I'll have clients that are trying to get on disability. It's, how, well, how crazy that can be, and
Hmm.
then they're stuck, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to get them to someone, and it's such a pain to get them to someone who will help them without charging them an arm and a leg.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's really, really neat.
Hmm.
Really awesome that you're able to do that.
Yeah.
I really, and I love the way you set it up so that you're not just guessing, but you have someone in place to be
Yeah.
able to talk to them to see what it is that they need. And so that's really important. I love that you have it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so the next question I would have is, last time we spoke, we talked about, well, I don't think we talked about the Dunk MS. And I'm
Hmm.
not sure you were doing that yet. So how did that got started and what does that look like? How's that been going?
Yeah,
Who
it's
gets dunked? You the most?
yeah, right. Depends on the year right now. So Blake Arnett is the founder of the Dunk MS charity event.
Okay.
He had created in honor of his mom, who had sadly passed from MS a few years back. He played college basketball at UCLA. The event itself, it is his baby. It's his creation. It's an amazing, amazing event. And MS4MS has just had the honor and opportunity to partner with Blake and become the overarching nonprofit that it operates under. So Dunk
Okay.
MS is an event underneath the MS4MS 501c3 umbrella, and now it's one of our flagship events throughout the year that's run by Blake. So it
That's
takes
awesome.
place in LA, on the campus of UCLA. It is growing exponentially year over year because of Blake's efforts. We have a team of volunteers who help support him at this point, but it is just really cool to watch that grow. It's his creation, and we're just honored to play a small part in helping him grow it and take it from there. So it's
That's so
coming
cool.
up again this year. It's going to be the biggest one to date, and
Wow.
the actual date will be announced as soon as it's approved, hopefully over the next couple of months.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I want to, that'll be a good excuse for me to go see one of my great friends in
There
LA.
you go.
So
Yeah, for sure. Come
I
on
want to
out.
do that.
Last year we
Definitely.
had over 500 people in attendance,
That's awesome.
but this year it's going to be even bigger. So the
Wow.
more we can get the word out, the better.
Definitely. That's just super cool. I love that.
Yep.
So, one of the other questions, let me see where I misplaced it in my pages.
Yeah.
So with the MS4MS program now, what are some of the things that you see going in like the next, let's not say 5, let's start with 2 years. So I know you've got some big things that we talked about. So where do you see moving in? Because there's got to be, with all the brainstorming,
Yeah.
there's got to be some exciting stuff that you guys talk about. So in 2 years, where do you see the biggest movements taking place?
Yeah, and maybe you were gonna ask about the music part. There's a chance.
Yes, that was on there. How do you, yes, that was the question. Yeah,
So two parts. Really excited about what's to come with MS4MS, and as you mentioned, we're always brainstorming and figuring out what the best growth strategy is to make the greatest impact. Bottom line.
sure.
And one thing I alluded to earlier was that Spreading Orange state by state event across the country,
I love
which
that.
is almost a do-it-yourself opportunity for everyone to get involved in a small scale or large scale that's best for them, with the support and backing of MS4MS. So
Okay.
it's almost creating an opportunity and a platform to somebody to go to their own sporting event or music venue in their area, and we send them our orange shirts so that we
Oh,
can raise awareness at that location, and have it almost like a mini MS for MS event on their own with their own friends and family.
very
Uh,
cool.
which provides a couple opportunities for us to grow quicker, so that way our team doesn't have to necessarily be at every event, but
Right.
our opportunity to grow continues. So we have
Yeah,
the structure in place now to still host really big events like the UCLA for Dunk MS, and we're gonna,
right.
something at Yankee Stadium this coming year, and a few other fun things up our sleeve as well with music and entertainment. Uh,
Yeah,
but that's what I foresee happening as we continue to grow and scale, is that do it yourself opportunity.
I
And this
love
past
that.
year, they've gone bowling. They've done a bowling night on their own with 10 or 15 family and friends, and they all got sent MS for MS shirts and took pictures
That's
wearing
so
shirts,
cool.
and more of those are starting to pop up. So,
Yeah.
you have the Walk MS, which is amazing every single year, and everybody
Mhm.
joins. What this is going to essentially be is they're not restricted to just going for a walk or just doing that, but they can do whatever their passion is while
Yeah,
still raising awareness. They can even create a fundraising page directly on our site moving forward for this exact event as well.
yeah,
So there's going to be fundraising competitions, there's going to be winners,
yeah.
there's going to be prizes, all of that type of stuff.
I love that.
It's a big part of our growth opportunity.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really like that. That's
Yeah.
really neat. That those are some really cool things. I really love that. And then last time we interviewed, we talked about you getting into music, into
Yep.
some that you're gonna head into there. So how did that work out? What was the first? What was the first? Was it going into a concert? How did that? What was the first concert you went into? Do you
Yeah. So
remember?
Yep. So Michael Weiss is an
Uh,
advisory board member, and one of our lead ambassadors for MS, has been a huge played a pivotal role in our recent growth, and is just an amazing person. He also has MS, and
mm,
um, you never know it with the motor that he has. However, he gets hit,
uh,
he hits the wall like most people with MS do, and
yeah.
he's just an amazing person. But he's been the driving force in getting into the music and entertainment side of things, and he used to be a band manager for a band back in the day called God Street Wine. They had
Okay.
a very significant following back in the 90s, and
Okay.
they hadn't played in several years
Trying to
together.
think of who they are. I'm like, I have
If
to
you
look it
if
up.
you Google them or YouTube God Street Wine, you won't regret it.
Okay.
Music is really great. So what Michael
Okay.
did was essentially created a reunion tour for a two-night only opportunity for this band to play.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and they had orange microphones, they sold merchandise, they raised awareness with QR codes and raised money. Ended up raising over $17,000 for MS for
I
MS
love it.
because of it. And the people who just attended had an unbelievable time. So
Wow.
there's more and more music stuff that we are looking forward to doing and going to be doing. And
Yeah.
it's going to be a sports and entertainment focus as we move forward.
That's really cool. I love that. So any entertainers that have come out to like work with you that have MS?
Um, Smaller local,
Like
Brittany,
Kenny Chesney?
yes, soon. I think Clay Walker
Yeah,
is
Clay
someone that
Walker.
has MS. So
Yeah.
Clay, if you're listening, we'll talk to you about it
Yeah,
next year for sure. Uh,
exactly. Kenny Chesney is not as open.
yes, yes. Does he have a connection to MS?
He
He
has
does.
it.
Kenny Chesney does.
He doesn't talk about it though.
Interesting. I knew Clay Walker, but I didn't know Kenny Chesney did.
Yeah. I mean, don't like, I don't want to have like things fall down, but I'm almost positive that he
Yeah,
does.
gotcha.
Because he was a long time ago diagnosed. And but he doesn't really talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't. but yeah, I'm trying to think of other entertainers that have it,
Yeah.
but
Well, there's a lot. So she on Instagram, she goes by, I think, a hot MS. Her name is
oh
Brittany.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
you know,
she's
Brittany,
great.
she's amazing, and
Oh,
we're actually in the talks of doing something small out in California together
yes.
as
Yeah,
well.
she's
So,
great. Good friend to
small,
me.
yeah, she's amazing and has an amazing voice as well. So there's
She
some fun
does.
stuff happening there. There's a few other things that we're working on that we'll announce on our social media pages. If people aren't following, it's MS4MS
Yes. And I'll have that
Instagram
all
and
on the bottom of
Facebook.
the show notes too, for
Yeah.
sure. I love
So
that.
a lot to come, but a lot of exciting stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And so a lot of collaborating, a lot of energy. I mean, I think that as you've grown and people's heart just really see,
Yeah.
I mean, it's always wanting to engage and collaborate with people who are doing and spreading
Hmm.
and who I think that's the best part as you put so much of your heart into it. You're seeing the benefit of it now because people want to engage and want to be with you and
Yeah.
want to be with the people that you're with because it is so good and it is so heartfelt and the people in there have the same attitude and I think you draw in what your heart is like and you've been able to draw in that kind of personality and those hearts that are so willing to be a part of this of getting a cure and
Yeah.
making this easier and you've really drawn that in and so I mean you should be proud of that. I mean, you've done a lot. You put in a lot of work. And I know the
Mhm.
people with you have too, but you started this
Yeah.
and it is a beautiful thing that just keeps growing and growing and growing. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see and watch and to see the stories. Can you
Mhm.
give me like what couple of your favorite stories this last year?
Oh
I
man.
know it's hard. I
It is
know.
hard because they're so unique in their own way. We have an individual on our team. His name is Steven. He joined us as an ambassador, and he was wheelchair bound because of his MS, and through strength, faith, diet, mind control, you name it. He's now running Ironmans.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh. Oh, I remember. I saw him.
you have to read his story.
Yeah, I did.
It's remarkable. That story, there's so many good ones this year.
Yeah.
We have an individual on our team. Her name is Taya Hayes. She's a Falcons cheerleader. She's mid-20s and has MS, and she's a cheerleader for the Falcons. And
Yeah.
um, it's hard to it doesn't minimize any of the other stories. So those are just a
Right.
couple that come to mind that are
Right.
very inspiring. They show the reality of MS, but
Yeah.
the possibilities that are also there, with the right mindset. Uh,
Absolutely. And the right
so
heart.
yes,
So last, what I want to talk about is talk about the ambassador program.
yeah,
Somebody's watching it and they're like, "Oh, I want to get started. I want to do this."
yeah,
Tell me about it. What is it? How do they get started?
yeah. So similar to the grant program, we don't have a link on our website for the ambassador program because people just organically are reaching out looking to see how they can get involved. There's a page on our website that says, how can I get involved? And then if they
Mhm.
reach out, we share stuff on the ambassador program. Similar because we want to have a conversation to see, well, how much do they want to get involved? What do they want
Right.
to do? Is it something where they want to do an event or do they want to attend meetings? And
Right.
it's not a one size fits all, but the ambassadors who are on our team, they join virtual meetings once a month for brainstorming sessions to help the organization grow. And they also raise funds throughout the year and
Sure.
get some merchandise and some swag, which is always fun as well. And the program is just intended to be a brand ambassador for what we're trying to do and continue to spread the positive message. Uh,
Yeah.
for some people, that means really, getting involved on a larger scale. For others, that means saying, yeah, I want to attend the meetings and spread, reshare when I can. And that's all I can
Sure.
do. And that's okay.
Right.
So
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to go above and beyond, but we like to talk with everybody who's interested and welcome
Yeah.
all people to try to get involved. It's going to
I love
continue to
that.
grow.
So that's been something that you've seen a lot of growth in with the ambassador program.
Yeah, for sure. And
Very
that
cool.
that is a big part of why we've grown the way we've grown and will continue to grow.
Yeah, sounds really so like if you're interested, guys, and you want to get involved, it'll be on the bottom of the show notes. So then you'll know how to get involved. So I know a lot of times people will see that and you get tired and you're like, I don't know how to get involved. So now you know. Very simple. Go on the page, and then you'll be able to see how to get involved and connect with them. So simple and something that you can do. And I know often with MS, you know, you feel like, I don't know what to do, especially if you're wheelchair bound. I don't know how to get involved. I don't know how to help anymore. And as you know, we know depression is super high with MS. So it always makes us feel better when we're able to give something out, because the worst feeling is when we feel like there's nothing left for us to do. And so this is something we can do. Like you put it, it can be small, it can be big. It's what we're able to give out. So don't feel like there's nothing we can do. There's always something we can do. If we're breathing, we can still do something. So I love that. So I would encourage, if you want to be a part of something, MS4MS is a great, great place to start. So I love it. And Sam, it's always so great to have you. I can't wait to hear in another year what MS4MS is doing.
And same with your podcast. I love seeing it.
Thank you.
Listening to it, and congrats on the growth. And
thank you.
Keep touching base, and every couple of years, we'll keep both getting bigger and bigger, which means we're helping more people.
Woo, I like it. All right, let's spread some more orange. Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks, I want to hear the feedback, how you guys liked it. I'm sure you enjoyed to see Sam again and all that he's doing. So keep up with what they're doing on Instagram and on Facebook. What are some other ways they can get a hold of you, Sam?
Yeah, we're on all the social media platforms.
TikTok.
We're trying to get more into that. We're going to be a little teaser. We're going to be actually announcing an internship program this spring as well for kids in college who want to get involved.
Nice.
So that's a huge piece of our upcoming plans. So stay tuned
for
that.
Cool.
But just go to ms4ms.org, go to contact us and send us a message. And then, like I said, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the good stuff.
I see you on everything that my marketing puts me on. I'm like, TikTok, really? But there I am. And there you are.
Certain things. We got to try it all.
Yeah, you bet. Well, Sam, thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to get involved, check it out, and have a great, I cannot wait to hear the feedback on this interview. Thank you, Sam, so much.
Thanks, Kathy.
Stay with
Appreciate
me. You bet. Thank you so much.
Hold up.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Move It or Lose It podcast, where you can again find us every Tuesday, and also wherever you like your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. Join us on that. And we can't wait to see you again. We're going to have a lot of exciting guests and working together. And as always, you'll hear us say at the end of every podcast, we are stronger together. So let's do it. Let's become stronger together. Have a great day.